Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening to this brief presentation on a proposed study we are planning to undertake on behalf of the PARANOIA study group, looking at the impact of preoperative glycemic control and diabetes on pancreatic fistula after pancreatic duodenectomy. My name is Sanjay Pandanaboyana. I'm a HPB and Transplant Surgeon at the Freeman Hospital in Newcastle in England. And as I said earlier, this study has been undertaken through the PARANOIA study group. We've recently undertaken a systematic review and meta-analysis looking at pancreatic fistula after distal pancreatectomy. And what we found in this systematic review of more than 8,000 patients since 2016 is that the clinically relevant fistula rate after distal pancreatectomy was around 20%. But more interestingly, preoperative diabetes was a protective factor against development of postoperative pancreatic fistula after distal pancreatectomy. The fistula rates in patients who had diabetes were significantly lower than in patients who didn't have diabetes. So this was the basis and foundation for the proposed study, where we want to look at postoperative pancreatic fistula rates after pancreatic duodenectomy, particularly in patients with diabetes mellitus. The hypothesis is that at this point of time, that patients who have type 1 or type 2 diabetes mellitus may have fibrosis in the pancreatic parenchyma, which might then result in a reduction in postoperative pancreatic fistula rates. And this has been explored and confirmed in distal pancreatectomy, even based on histological studies, where there was indeed fibrosis in patients with type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus within the pancreas specimens. In this proposed study, after pancreatic duodenectomy, what we want to do is to categorize patients' preoperative glycemic control based on WHO classification, dividing them into HbA1c of less than 42 who would be non-diabetic versus more than 48 who would be type 2 diabetes mellitus. We also want to look at the duration of diabetes mellitus, whether this was less than 6 months of duration or more than 6 months of duration. And we're also planning to look at the impact of metabolic syndrome on postoperative pancreatic fistula rates, of which diabetes mellitus is an important factor. So there are quite a few things we are planning to explore, particularly in terms of diabetes, obesity, and their impact on postoperative pancreatic fistula after pancreatic duodenectomy. The primary outcome measure would be clinically relevant postoperative pancreatic fistula, and the secondary outcomes are as listed below. So I hope this would be one of the largest series exploring this particular aspect of a preoperative risk factor for development of postoperative pancreatic fistula. And this study has been run through the PARANOIA study group, which have already recruited more than 200 patients through the platform, with 170 surgeons around the world contributing data to the study. So we hope once we have the data input completed in the next few months or so, this would provide us a good idea as to the impact of glycemic control and fistula after pancreatic duodenectomy. And I really hope you can contribute and join the study. Thank you for listening.